Ravi's life on the great interstellar station was quiet, unimportant, and almost invisible. He worked as a janitor, one of hundreds who swept the long halls, polished the shining floors, and fixed the constant leaks that came from the pipes running through the old walls. The station was huge, shaped like a ring, and orbiting a red star. Every day thousands of beings passed through it. Traders with wide robes, soldiers in metal armor, and alien nobles with long tails or bright scales walked across the shining floors. They all looked important. They all walked fast, as if the universe itself was waiting for them. Ravi walked slowly, pushing his cleaning cart, and no one ever turned their head to see him. He did not mind most of the time. His work gave him food, a small cabin, and a chance to watch the endless skies through the glass windows. He often paused when no one was looking, leaning on his mop to look out at the stars. It made him feel both small and calm. The stars burned without caring about kings, nobles, or janitors. To them, all were the same. Still, there were days when Ravi wished he was more than a shadow on the station floor. He had grown up on Earth, in a small town where no starship had ever landed. He had left because he wanted to see more, to find adventure. But adventure had not found him. Instead, he found himself cleaning up after it. When warriors came back from battles, he cleaned their halls. When traders spilled drinks during deals, he mopped their mess. When nobles threw feasts, he was the one who swept the crumbs. His adventure was hidden in the dirt left by others. One evening, his shift took him to the highest part of the station, the royal guest wing. He rarely cleaned there. Only a few janitors were trusted to enter that place, for it held visiting nobles and rulers from across the stars. The hallways were wide, with golden lines across the floor and tall doors carved with symbols of different worlds. Guards with long spears stood at every corner, their glowing eyes watching. Ravi kept his head down as he pushed his cart. He did not want any attention. He was told to clean the far corridor, the one near the royal garden. The air there was sweet, filled with the smell of strange flowers that bloomed under artificial sunlight. He worked quietly, brushing the floor and wiping the walls. Then, as he passed near one of the heavy doors, he heard voices. They were sharp, loud, and filled with tension. He froze, unsure if he should keep moving or listen. His heart beat faster. He did not mean to eavesdrop, but the voices came through so clearly. "They will not accept this," a deep voice said. "You cannot appear before the council without a chosen partner. You know the law." Another voice answered, soft but firm. "I know the law better than anyone. But I will not be forced into their game. I will not choose one of those suitors. Each of them wants the throne, not me." The deep voice replied with worry. "Then what will you do, Princess Arya? If you walk into the summit alone, they will strip you of your right. The council will choose for you. You will lose everything." There was silence for a moment. Ravi's hand tightened around his mop. He realized he was hearing something dangerous. A royal secret. His stomach turned. He should leave. Yet his legs did not move. Finally, the soft voice spoke again. "I will find another way. Even if it means shocking them all. I will not bow to their wishes." Ravi leaned back, ready to wheel his cart away and forget everything. But as he turned, the heavy door opened. Standing in the doorway was a tall young woman unlike any he had ever seen. Her skin was pale with a faint silver glow under the garden lights. Her eyes were large, clear as water, and carried a sharpness that made Ravi's breath catch. She wore a gown of deep blue that shimmered like the night sky. She was beautiful, but there was something more, an air of command, as if the whole station should kneel when she entered. It was the princess herself. Princess Arya of Naira. Her eyes narrowed as they fell on him. Ravi froze, his mop halfway lifted. He wanted to melt into the floor, to vanish, but her gaze pinned him in place. "You," she said, stepping closer. Her voice was calm, yet filled with force. How long have you been standing there? Ravi stammered, his throat dry. I. I was just cleaning, Your Highness. I did not mean to listen. Behind her, a tall man with broad shoulders, likely one of her advisors, frowned and moved toward him. We should have him arrested. He may have heard too much. Ravi's knees felt weak. Arrested for mopping too close to a door, his mind raced. He opened his mouth, ready to beg for mercy, but the princess raised her hand to stop her advisor. Wait, she said. Her eyes stayed on Ravi, studying him as though he was not just a janitor but something more. You say you were only cleaning. And yet, perhaps fate placed you here. Ravi blinked, confused. Fate? I do not understand. The princess tilted her head slightly. For a moment, Ravi thought she was about to dismiss him. Instead, she smiled, but it was not the smile of someone amused. It was the smile of someone who had just solved a puzzle. Maybe I have found my answer, she whispered, though her voice carried enough for him to hear. Then she spoke louder. What is your name, Janitor? Ravi, he said quickly, still gripping his mop like a shield. Ravi, she repeated, as if testing how it sounded. Then she gave a small nod. Good. I will remember it. You may go for now. But do not be far. I will call for you soon. Ravi could only nod, his heart thundering in his chest. He pushed his cart away, his mind spinning. What had just happened? Why would a princess care to remember his name? What did she mean by finding her answer? As he walked back to the lower halls, one thought kept circling in his head. His life had been simple, quiet, and forgotten. But after that night, nothing would remain the same. Ravi spent the rest of the night restless. He lay in his small cabin on the lower levels of the station, staring at the metal ceiling. His mind replayed the moment again and again. The princess had looked at him as if he was not invisible. She had spoken his name with purpose, as though it meant something. But why a janitor like him had no place in the world of royals? He told himself it was a passing moment, something she would forget by morning. The next day, while sweeping the corridor near the docking bays, 2 royal guards approached him. Their armor was silver, their eyes cold, and their movements sharp. For a moment Ravi thought he was in trouble. He gripped his broom nervously. But one of the guards simply said, "The princess summons you. Now." Ravi's heart skipped. He wanted to refuse, but no one refused a royal summons. He followed them through the shining halls, past curious workers who stared as the janitor walked under the guard of nobles. They led him back to the royal guest wing, through tall golden doors, and into a chamber filled with soft light and tall windows. There she was. Princess Arya stood by the window, her silver glow brighter under the station's artificial sun. She turned as he entered, her long gown moving like flowing water. Ravi, she said, as though she had known him for years. You came. Ravi bowed clumsily, unsure what manners were required. Your Highness, I did not choose. The guards brought me. Her lips curved slightly, not in mockery but in patience. Yes, and I am glad they did. I need to speak with you. Ravi glanced around the room. The tall advisor he had seen before stood near the wall, his arms crossed. He looked unhappy to see Ravi again. Still, he did not speak. The princess raised her hand, and the advisor left the chamber, leaving the 2 of them alone. Ravi swallowed hard. Why me? I am no one. Just a janitor. Arya studied him for a long moment before answering. Because you are no one, you are perfect. Her words confused him. He opened his mouth, closed it, then finally asked, perfect for what? The princess walked closer, her eyes steady on him. Tomorrow begins the Galactic Summit. Leaders from across the stars will gather. It is a stage where power is displayed, where alliances are made, and where thrones are tested. For me, it is a trap. Ravi frowned, not understanding. A trap, yes, she said firmly. The council of my world demands that I appear with a chosen fiancé. They claim it is for stability, but I know the truth. Each suitor is backed by a family that seeks the throne. If I choose one of them, I hand over my freedom. If I refuse, I lose my right to rule. Either way, they win. She paused, her voice growing quieter. But I will not let them choose my fate. I will not let them use me as a prize. Ravi listened, his hands trembling around the handle of his broom. He felt out of place, like a child hearing secrets of kings. I still do not see what this has to do with me, he said carefully. Arya's eyes sharpened. I need someone who has no ties to my world, no ambition for my throne, and no hidden schemes. I need someone unexpected. And you, Ravi the janitor, are exactly that. Ravi blinked. What are you saying? I am saying, she replied, that I want you to be my fiancé. A false one, of course. Just for the summit. You will stand beside me, smile when needed, and say nothing foolish. In return, I will protect you, reward you, and when it is done, you may return to your quiet life, or you may choose more. The decision will be yours. The words struck Ravi like a storm. Him a fiancé to a princess, he almost laughed, but her serious gaze held him still. He shook his head quickly. This is madness. I am not fit for this. I cannot speak like nobles. I cannot walk like them. They will know I am nothing. Arya stepped closer. For the first time, Ravi saw something in her eyes that was not command. It was weariness. A deep tiredness from carrying a weight too heavy for one person. They may know you are nothing to them, she said softly. But you will be something to me. Do not think I chose you by mistake. When I looked at you, I saw no hunger for power, no greed, no mask. Only honesty. That is rarer than gold in the halls of kings. Ravi's throat went dry. He wanted to protest, to run, but her words held him. He remembered the way she had spoken last night, defying her counsel. She was not just a royal, she was someone fighting for her own freedom. Could he really refuse her? What if I fail? He whispered. Her answer was calm, steady. Then we fail together. But if you try, we might succeed. And perhaps you will learn that even a janitor can stand taller than princes. Silence filled the room. Ravi's heart pounded. Every part of him screamed that this was too dangerous. Yet another part, a quiet part that had long been hidden, whispered that this was the adventure he had once sought when he left Earth. This was a chance to be more than invisible. Finally, he nodded, though his hands still shook. If this is truly what you want, princess, then I will do it. I will be your fiancé. Her expression softened for the first time. She reached out, lightly touching his arm, not as a ruler to a servant, but as one person to another. Thank you, Ravi. You do not know how much this means. At that moment, the door opened again, and her advisor stepped back inside. His eyes narrowed when he saw Ravi still standing there. Princess, is this wise? He asked. Arya answered with strength. It is my choice. And my choice is him. The advisor's jaw tightened, but he did not argue further. He bowed slightly and left once more. Ravi felt the weight of what had just happened. His life was no longer simple. By tomorrow, he would be standing in front of rulers from every corner of the galaxy, pretending to be the fiancé of a princess. As he left the chamber, escorted again by guards, his mind spun with fear and disbelief. Yet hidden under the fear was a spark of something else. Hope. For the first time in years, Ravi felt like his life might finally matter. Ravi woke early the next day, though he had hardly slept. His mind was too full of worry. The idea of standing as the fiancé of Princess Arya felt heavier than any weight he had ever carried. A mop or broom was simple. A roll in front of rulers and nobles was not. He barely had time to wash his face before two royal attendants arrived at his cabin. They were tall, with long robes of silver and green, their heads bowed slightly in respect to the order they carried. One of them spoke firmly, "The princess requests your presence. Training begins at once." Training, Ravi thought nervously as he followed them. He had never trained for anything except keeping the floors clean. His hands shook as he walked, wondering if he had already made the worst mistake of his life. The attendants led him back to the royal wing, this time into a wide chamber filled with polished mirrors, chairs, and long tables set with food and books. Princess Arya was waiting there, dressed in a simpler gown than before, though even simple clothes looked noble on her. She turned as he entered, her silver glow calm but her eyes sharp with purpose. "Good," she said. "You are here. We have little time. The summit begins tomorrow evening. You must be ready to stand beside me." Ravi bowed awkwardly. "Princess, I am afraid. I do not know your customs. I will surely embarrass you." Her expression softened, though her voice remained steady. "That is why you will learn today. I do not expect perfection, Ravi. I only expect honesty and effort. Those two things may do more than false elegance." The attendants stepped forward. One held a book filled with phrases written in several languages. The other carried a tray of cups, plates, and long cloths for practicing proper dining manners. Ravi's stomach sank as he realized what was about to happen. The first lesson was speech. An attendant opened the book and read a phrase in the Nairan tongue, a language of flowing sounds and gentle pauses. Ravi tried to copy, but his voice stumbled, his tongue heavy. The attendant corrected him patiently, but his words still sounded clumsy. Princess Arya hid a smile behind her hand. "Do not force it," she advised. "Speak slowly. Let the words come as if you are breathing." He tried again, slower this time. It was not perfect, but it was closer. The princess nodded in approval. "Better. Even if your accent is human, they will respect your effort." Next came posture. Ravi was told to walk across the chamber with his head high and shoulders straight, as if he carried invisible armor. His boots felt heavy, his steps uneven. More than once he tripped over his own feet, nearly falling. One time, he stumbled so badly that he caught himself against a table, knocking cups to the floor with a loud crash. His face burned with shame. The attendants rushed to clean the mess, but Arya's laughter filled the room. It was not cruel. It was light, almost musical. "Do not be so hard on yourself, Ravi. Even the finest prince has tripped at least once during his training. You are learning faster than you think." Her laughter eased his nerves. He tried again, this time walking more slowly, focusing on each step. It was not perfect, but it was steady. Then came dining manners. The attendant placed several cups and plates before him, showing which to use for which drink or dish. Ravi stared at them in confusion. On Earth, a single plate and cup had always been enough. Here there were 5 spoons, 3 forks, and bowls shaped in ways he had never seen. He picked up the wrong spoon twice, causing Arya to cover her smile again. At one point, he raised the cup too quickly and spilled water down his front. The attendants gasped in horror, but Arya only handed him a cloth. "Better here in practice than in the summit hall," she said kindly. Hours passed this way. Ravi stumbled through phrases, tripped during steps, and spilled food more than once. Yet through it all, the princess remained patient. Her sharp commands were softened by her calm encouragements. Slowly, Ravi realized she was not laughing at him but with him. She seemed almost relieved by his clumsiness, as though it was a break from the polished lies of nobles. During a pause, when the attendants left to prepare more lessons, Ravi sat at the edge of the table, breathing heavily. "I do not understand, princess," he said. "Why do you trust me with this? If I fail, your enemies will laugh at you." Arya sat across from him, her hands folded neatly. For a moment she looked not like a royal but like a young woman carrying a great burden. "Because they laugh at me no matter what I do," she said softly. "They laugh when I speak with strength. They laugh when I resist their plans. They will always laugh until I prove them wrong. You, Ravi, are not another noble with lies hidden in his smile. You are simply yourself. That is why I trust you. And that is why I chose you." Ravi felt warmth rise in his chest. No one had ever spoken of him like that. All his life he had been unseen, a shadow in the background. Now, for the first time, someone saw him. Not just saw, but believed in him. Their training continued into the evening. By the time the attendants ended the session, Ravi could walk without stumbling, speak a few polite phrases, and handle most of the cups without spilling. He was far from polished, but he was no longer hopeless. Before he left, Arya stopped him at the doorway. "Ravi," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "Tomorrow will test us both. You may be afraid. That is natural. But remember this, you do not stand as a servant in the hall. You stand as my chosen partner. Hold your head high, not because you are perfect, but because you are real. That will matter more than you know." Ravi nodded, his heart steadying at her words. He bowed more gracefully than before, then left the chamber. As he walked back to his cabin, he felt a strange mixture of fear and pride. He was still a janitor, still clumsy, still unsure. But now he was also something more. The princess had trusted him, and tomorrow the galaxy would see him at her side. For the first time in his life, Ravi felt he was about to step onto a stage far bigger than anything he had imagined. And though his hands still shook, a spark of courage burned quietly within him. The day of the Galactic Summit arrived. The station that usually hummed with trade and travel now glowed with banners and shining lights. Every corridor was swept clean, every hall decorated with flags from distant worlds. Guards in bright armor lined the pathways, and nobles in jeweled robes filled the air with chatter. It was a grand stage, and for the first time, Ravi was walking on it. He wore a formal suit provided by the princess's attendants. It was dark blue with silver threads that caught the light. The fabric felt heavy on his shoulders, and the collar pressed tight around his neck. He kept adjusting it nervously, but the attendants scolded him each time. Princess Arya walked beside him, her gown shimmering like flowing stars. She moved with calm grace, her step steady, her chin lifted high. To anyone watching, she was the picture of royalty. Ravi tried to copy her posture, but his heart pounded so loudly he was sure the guards could hear it. He whispered, "Princess, I think I will faint." Arya glanced at him, her lips curving slightly. "You will not faint, Ravi. You will walk beside me and remember what I told you. Hold your head high. Not because you are perfect, but because you are real." He swallowed hard, nodded, and tried to believe her words. The grand hall of the summit opened before them. It was enormous, a circle with rows of seats rising upward like steps, each seat filled with rulers, generals, merchants, and nobles from across the galaxy. In the center of the hall stood a wide floor for presentations, its surface polished to a mirror shine. Lights from above cast a glow that made the entire chamber look like a theater of stars. As Ravi entered with Arya, all eyes turned toward them. A wave of whispers rolled across the hall. Some laughed quietly, others frowned in confusion. Ravi felt their stares like heavy stones pressing against his chest. He wanted to run, but he forced his feet to keep moving. The council speaker, an elder with golden skin and a voice that echoed, announced loudly, "Princess Arya of Naira enters, accompanied by her chosen fiancé." The words struck Ravi harder than a hammer. Chosen fiancé. The hall erupted in more whispers. He caught glimpses of disbelieving faces. Some nobles shook their heads. A few even smirked openly, as if the very idea of a human janitor being the fiancé of a royal was a cruel joke. One figure stepped forward from the crowd. It was Prince Kiran, tall and broad, his armor polished with emerald stones. His eyes burned with pride, and his voice carried across the hall. This is your choice, Princess Arya, a common human, a man with no name, no bloodline, no power. Is this how you honor the laws of your people? Ravi froze. Every gaze now bore into him. His mouth went dry, and fear wrapped around his chest. He wanted to hide behind Arya, but she lifted her chin and answered firmly, "It is my right to choose, and I have chosen. My fiancé stands beside me, not for his power or title, but for his honesty and strength. That is more than most can offer." Her voice cut through the hall like steel. Ravi looked at her in wonder. Even under mockery, she stood unshaken. He wished he could borrow even half of her courage. Kiran's lips curled in disdain. Honesty and strength, words meant to hide weakness. You insult the summit with this act, princess. Do you truly believe the galaxy will accept this man as worthy of you? Ravi's hands shook. He had been told to remain quiet, to simply stand as a symbol. Yet as Kiran's mocking words filled the hall, something stirred in him. He remembered his life as a janitor, how everyone had walked past him as though he was invisible. He thought of Arya, who had seen him, chosen him, and trusted him. If he remained silent now, he would fail that trust. He drew in a shaky breath and stepped forward, his voice trembling but clear. I know I am not a prince or a noble. I am only a human, and my life until now has been simple. But being simple does not mean being worthless. The princess chose me because I do not seek her throne. I do not wear a mask of false words. I stand here because she asked, and I will not abandon her. The hall grew quiet. Whispers fell to silence. Ravi felt his knees shake, but he forced himself to keep standing tall. His words were plain, without elegance, but they were true. For a moment, even Kiran seemed taken aback. His eyes narrowed, but he did not answer at once. Then, with a harsh laugh, he stepped back and waved his hand. Very well. Let the princess keep her toy. But we will see how long he lasts in the games of rulers. Arya gave no reply to Kiran. She simply placed her hand lightly on Ravi's arm and guided him to their seats. Her touch was steady, and when Ravi glanced at her, he saw a small spark of pride in her eyes. The summit continued with speeches, alliances, and debates. Ravi remained beside Arya, silent when needed, bowing when required, and trying not to spill water when offered a drink. Each time he felt fear rise, he remembered her words. He held his head high, not because he was perfect, but because he was real. By the end of the day, Ravi was exhausted, but he had survived. He had not fainted, nor had he run. The nobles still whispered, and Kiran's eyes still burned with challenge, but he had stood his ground. As they returned to the royal chambers, Ravi finally spoke in a low voice. Princess, I think I made a fool of myself. Arya turned to him, her silver glow warm in the dim corridor. You did not. You stood where many would have fallen. They will remember that. Ravi felt a strange warmth spread in his chest. For the first time in his life, he was not invisible. He was seen. And though the galaxy doubted him, he began to believe that perhaps he truly could stand at Arya's side. The morning after the summit's first day, Ravi awoke with a heavy sense of unease. Though he had survived the grand hall and held his place beside Princess Arya, something felt wrong. The hall had been filled with whispers, some of them sharp and threatening. Even those who had not spoken aloud had watched him as if measuring him for a trap. He could not shake the feeling that danger lingered nearby. As he walked through the royal wing, pushing his cleaning cart quietly, he noticed something unusual. A group of guards, not assigned to the princess, lingered near the hall where she often practiced her speeches. They whispered in low tones, glancing around nervously. Ravi's curiosity was stronger than his fear. He had spent his life unnoticed, and now his habit of observing everything quietly gave him a unique advantage. He ducked behind a pillar and listened carefully. The voices were rough, clipped, and alien, yet he could understand the meaning through their gestures and urgent whispers. "She will announce the choice tomorrow," one said. "We must show her fiancé is a fraud. No human can stand in that hall without shame." Ravi's heart skipped a beat. He stepped back, pressing himself against the cool stone of the wall. These guards were planning to embarrass Arya, to humiliate her and destroy her credibility. If they succeeded, the entire summit and her right to rule would crumble. He thought quickly. What could he do to help the princess? He was only a janitor. Yet, he knew one thing: his position allowed him to move without suspicion. No one would expect him to overhear, and no one would believe he could act. Ravi decided to warn Princess Arya. But he needed a moment to plan. First, he returned to his small cabin and collected a few items that might help: a cloth to hide messages, a tool to open small locks, and a small vial of water in case he needed to signal or distract someone. He was not trained for intrigue, yet his resourcefulness had kept him alive as a janitor on the station for years. Later that afternoon, he approached Arya in the royal garden. She was walking slowly among the strange flowers, her silver glow calm and serene. When she saw him, she tilted her head. "Ravi," she said softly. "You look troubled. Is something wrong?" He bowed slightly and whispered, "Princess, I overheard something. Some guards are planning to disgrace you tomorrow during the final ceremony. They want to expose me as a fraud and make you lose your position." Arya's eyes narrowed. She did not panic. Instead, she folded her hands and looked at Ravi with calm focus. "I suspected such threats. I knew Kiran would not accept my choice. I was unsure of the methods, but your words confirm my fear. You have done well to tell me." Ravi shifted nervously. "What can we do? We are only two." "They are many." Arya walked closer, her gown brushing the flower petals. "We will not hide. We will not flee. We will use what they do not expect. Your strength is in your honesty and your human nature. That is a weapon they cannot see." Ravi blinked. "A weapon, my honesty?" "Yes," she said, her voice steady. "Humans are unpredictable to them. They expect lies, schemes, and false politeness. You stand differently. You act with truth, and that can turn their plan against them. We will prepare quietly. When the moment comes, we will face them together." They spent the next hours in careful discussion. Arya explained the schedule of the final ceremony, including where Kiran's men would be stationed and when they might attempt their trap. Ravi listened, taking mental notes of the times, the places, and the weak points. When night fell, Ravi felt a mixture of fear and determination. He had always cleaned in silence, hidden in shadows, and avoided trouble. Now he was part of it. He would not simply watch events unfold. He would act. The next morning, Ravi woke early. He spent time walking the corridors, noticing every detail, every shadow, every exit. He memorized the routes the rival guards took and how they communicated with subtle gestures. No one suspected him because he was still the janitor, pushing his cart, whistling softly to himself. Later, Princess Arya joined him. She had dressed in ceremonial robes of deep blue, threaded with silver. Her gown reflected the lights above, and she walked with the poise of a ruler born to the stage. Yet when she approached Ravi, her expression softened. "You have done well," she said. "Your observation may save us." "Are you ready?" Ravi nodded, though his stomach was tight. "I think so, Princess. I will try to do my best." She placed a hand gently on his arm. "That is enough. Your effort is what counts. Together, we can meet the challenge. When the ceremony began, the hall was packed with leaders from hundreds of worlds. The polished floor reflected the light from above, and the banners of many planets waved along the walls. Ravi walked beside Arya, steadying himself with each step. His heart raced, but he reminded himself that fear could not stop him. As predicted, some of Kiran's men attempted their plan. A loud shout erupted from the side of the hall, and a group of guards stepped forward as if to expose Ravi. But Ravi, remembering Arya's words, acted quickly. He pointed out inconsistencies in their movements, calmly correcting the false statements before they could take hold. His plain speech, unexpected by the guards, caught them off guard. Arya watched him with a small smile, her hand lightly touching his arm. "See," she whispered. "You are stronger than you believe." By the end of the ceremony, Kiran's plan had failed. The hall looked on in astonishment as Arya remained standing tall and unshaken, and Ravi had proved himself more capable than anyone expected. Even the rival prince could only glare, unable to find words that could diminish their success. When the doors closed behind the departing nobles, Ravi let out a long breath. He felt exhausted, yet alive. For the first time, he realized that his quiet life as a janitor had prepared him for this moment. His careful observation, patience, and honesty had turned a hidden threat into a demonstration of strength. Princess Arya turned to him, her silver glow calm in the dimmed light of the hall. "Ravi, today you showed more than courage. You showed wisdom and trust. I am proud to have you by my side." Ravi, still trembling slightly, smiled. "I only did what I could. You are the one who led us." She shook her head gently. "We led together. Your human nature gave us an advantage. The galaxy will not expect a simple human to face them with truth and calm. That is why you mattered." As they walked back to the royal wing, Ravi felt a quiet pride. He had survived the hidden threat and learned that even a janitor could stand against danger when courage and honesty guided his actions. The day after the summit, the station returned to its usual hum of activity. Traders moved between corridors, soldiers drilled in the training halls, and diplomats whispered behind closed doors. Yet for Ravi, nothing felt normal anymore. His life as a janitor had changed completely. He no longer moved invisibly. Now, everyone who saw him in the halls looked twice, some with curiosity, others with doubt. But Ravi only thought of one person, Princess Arya. That morning, Arya requested his presence in the royal garden. She had asked him to join her for a private walk. Ravi felt a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. His hands shook slightly as he straightened his uniform and pushed the door open. The garden was quiet, bathed in soft artificial sunlight. Strange flowers glowed in subtle colors, and the air smelled faintly sweet. "Good morning, Ravi," Arya said, her silver glow soft in the light. "Walk with me." Ravi bowed slightly. "Good morning, Princess." They moved along the paved paths, the hum of the station above muted by the high walls of the garden. For a few moments, neither spoke. Ravi tried to think of what to say, but words felt awkward. He was still learning how to act beside a princess, and even now, his heart beat too fast for normal conversation. Finally, Arya spoke. "You did well yesterday. The hidden threat was neutralized, and you stood beside me. I am proud of you." Ravi glanced at her, unsure how to respond. I only did what I could. You guided me. Without your words, I would have been lost." Arya smiled softly, her eyes bright. "No, Ravi. You did not just follow. You observed, you understood, and you acted. That is rare in any noble or human. You are more than you realize." The words warmed Ravi in a way he had never experienced. No one had ever spoken to him like that. Most people ignored him, dismissed him, or treated him as invisible. But Arya had looked at him differently from the very beginning. She had chosen him, not for status, not for power, but for his honesty and courage. They walked further into the garden. A small fountain sparkled in the center, water dancing under the sunlight. Ravi found himself speaking more freely, telling her about his life on Earth, his journey to the station, and his dreams of adventure. Arya listened intently, her gaze never leaving him. She asked questions, not out of duty, but from genuine curiosity. "I never imagined meeting a human," she said finally, her voice thoughtful. "I have seen many beings in my life, nobles and warriors, but you are different. You see the world in ways they cannot." Ravi smiled shyly. "I have only lived simply. I never had to hide who I am. Maybe that is why I seem different to you." Arya nodded. "Perhaps. And perhaps that is why you are exactly who I needed. Someone unafraid to be real in a world full of masks." For a long while, they continued walking and talking. Ravi felt a bond forming between them, a connection that went beyond the roles of princess and janitor, fiancé and servant. It was a quiet understanding, built on trust and mutual respect. He realized that the fake engagement had given him something unexpected, a chance to stand beside someone who truly saw him. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of footsteps approaching. A young attendant arrived, bowing quickly. "Princess, the council wishes to speak with you regarding the treaties discussed at the summit." Arya nodded. "Thank you. Ravi, wait here. I will return shortly." Ravi watched her walk away, her posture straight and confident. He felt a strange emptiness in her absence, as if a part of him had followed her. He leaned against a tree and thought about everything that had happened. He had survived the summit, stood against threats, and learned to walk beside a princess. And yet, more challenges were coming. The galaxy was unpredictable, and he had only glimpsed the beginning of the dangers ahead. Hours passed, and Arya returned. She was smiling, her eyes reflecting quiet relief. "The council has accepted the treaties. The summit concluded successfully." Ravi let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. "That is wonderful news, princess." "Yes," she said, her gaze meeting his. "And it is thanks to you, Ravi. You were steady, observant, and brave. I am grateful to have had you by my side." For a moment, silence hung between them, filled only by the gentle rustle of the garden. Ravi wanted to say more, to express his feelings, but he struggled to find words. Arya seemed to sense this. She smiled and placed her hand lightly on his shoulder. "Ravi," she said softly, "you have shown me that courage is not always about strength or title. Sometimes, it is about honesty, observation, and the willingness to act when needed. That is why I trust you, not just as a fiancé, but as someone I can rely on." Ravi felt his chest swell with pride and humility. He had never imagined that his simple life could prepare him for such a role. He had cleaned halls, observed quietly, and acted carefully, never knowing that these skills would become invaluable. And now, they had earned him the respect of a princess and perhaps even a place in her life beyond the summit. As evening fell, the garden took on a soft golden glow. The stars outside the station glimmered faintly, and Ravi realized that the galaxy was vast, filled with dangers, opportunities, and endless unknowns. And yet, for the first time, he did not feel small. He felt seen, important, and part of something greater than himself. Arya turned to him, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "Tomorrow, we return to the council. There will be more tests, more expectations. But I believe in you, Ravi. You have proven that even a human janitor can face challenges that many nobles could not." Ravi nodded, his resolve firm. "I will do my best, princess. I promise." Arya smiled softly. "That is all I ask. Together, we will face whatever comes next." Remember, Ravi, it is not about perfection. It is about being true to yourself. That is a strength they cannot measure, and it is a strength you have shown me. As they walked back to the royal chambers, Ravi felt a strange calmness. He was still nervous about the future, still aware of the dangers, but he knew one thing: he had found a bond with Princess Arya that went beyond pretense or duty. It was a connection based on trust, courage, and honesty. And it gave him a confidence he had never known before. For the first time, Ravi believed that he could stand beside a princess, face the galaxy, and perhaps even change his fate. The day of the final council meeting arrived. The chamber was vast and echoing, filled with rows of nobles, diplomats, and leaders from across the galaxy. Sunlight from the station's upper dome poured in, casting the floor in a bright glow. Ravi felt the weight of every gaze as he stood beside Princess Arya, dressed in his ceremonial uniform. He had rehearsed every word, every step, and every gesture. Yet, as he looked around, his heart still raced. He had survived the summit and the hidden threats, but this final moment would determine the perception of the entire galaxy. Every move mattered. Arya placed a gentle hand on his arm. Ravi, remember what I taught you. Honesty, calmness, and truth. That is all we need. Ravi nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. I understand, Princess. The council leader, a tall figure with eyes like polished stone, raised a hand. Princess Arya of Naira, and her chosen fiancé, present yourselves. The council wishes to hear the princess's choice and intentions. Arya stepped forward gracefully, and Ravi followed beside her. Every eye in the hall seemed to pierce them. Ravi felt fear creeping in, but he steadied himself. He would not falter now. Arya's voice rang clear. I stand before the council to confirm my choice. I have selected my fiancé, not for power, not for lineage, but for truth, courage, and honesty. This human, Ravi, has shown these qualities in ways no noble or prince could. He has stood by me, protected me, and acted with integrity when it was most needed. I trust him completely, and he will remain my partner as we face the challenges of our people and the galaxy together. Ravi's pulse quickened. The words were not rehearsed for him, yet he felt a surge of pride. He had earned her trust. He raised his head and met the eyes of the council. I am not noble, he said firmly, his voice steady despite the trembling in his chest. I am a human who has lived a simple life. But I will stand by Princess Arya with honesty and loyalty. I will not fail her. The hall fell into silence. Whispers spread like ripples through water. Even Kiran, who had tried to discredit them, stood frozen. Ravi realized that his plain words, spoken with sincerity, carried more weight than any title or armor. The council leader stepped forward slowly, eyes fixed on them. Your choice is unconventional, Princess. The council may not understand. Yet your conviction is clear. It is unusual for a human to rise to such responsibility. Yet, you speak with honesty, and the princess stands behind you. The council accepts your decision. Ravi could hardly believe it. The moment that had seemed impossible, the recognition of a janitor as the partner of a princess, had arrived. He felt a wave of relief and joy, tempered by the realization of the challenges still ahead. Arya smiled at him, her silver glow bright in the sunlight. Ravi, you have done more than I expected. Not just at the summit, but in every moment leading to this. I am proud to stand beside you. Ravi felt warmth rise in his chest. He had survived tests, threats, and doubt. Yet it was her faith in him that had made the difference. He bowed slightly, still overwhelmed. Princess, it has been my honor to serve beside you. I will continue to do so, whatever comes next. The council began discussions of treaties, alliances, and future plans. Ravi remained at her side, quiet when needed, and speaking only when it mattered. His calm presence and honest words impressed many who had doubted him. Slowly, even some of the skeptical nobles began to nod, recognizing the strength of character that he brought to the role. As the meeting ended, Arya and Ravi stepped outside into the balcony that overlooked the station. The galaxy stretched endlessly beyond, stars glittering like scattered diamonds. Ravi felt a strange peace. He had faced the impossible and emerged stronger. Arya turned to him, her eyes soft. Ravi, the summit has ended, but our journey does not stop here. There will always be challenges, politics, and unexpected dangers. Yet I know, with you by my side, I can face them all. Ravi smiled, feeling a sense of purpose he had never known in his life. Princess, I am ready. Whatever comes, I will stand with you. For a long moment, they stood together in silence, watching the stars. The bond between them had grown beyond a simple arrangement. It was trust, respect, and an unspoken understanding of each other's strengths and weaknesses. Finally, Arya spoke. Ravi, when I chose you, I did not know what the galaxy would think. I only knew that I needed someone honest, someone brave, and someone willing to stand beside me. You proved all that and more. Perhaps one day, the galaxy will understand why a janitor can be as important as a prince. Ravi laughed softly, a sound of relief and happiness. I never imagined my life would lead me here. But now I cannot imagine being anywhere else. Arya smiled, her silver glow gentle in the evening light. And I cannot imagine facing the future without you. They turned together, walking back into the royal chambers. Though the ceremony was over, the world outside awaited with its challenges and opportunities. But Ravi no longer feared them. He had discovered courage he did not know he possessed, and a bond with someone who truly believed in him. As the station lights dimmed for the evening, Ravi felt a quiet hope. He had started as a janitor, invisible and unnoticed. Now, he stood beside a princess, respected and trusted. And though the galaxy was vast and unpredictable, he knew he could face it with honesty, courage, and the princess at his side. In that moment, Ravi realized the truth of what Princess Arya had said from the beginning: being real, honest, and brave mattered more than any title or wealth. And with that truth, he knew that together, they could face anything. The stars outside the station glimmered brightly, and for the first time, Ravi felt that the universe was not only vast and daunting, but full of possibilities. He was no longer a simple janitor. He was a partner, a protector, and a friend of a princess who had trusted him above all else. And that was the greatest adventure he could ever imagine.